Hello and welcome to my Burning Abyss Phantomite deck profile. Before going into the profile, I want to just say that this is almost as much of a Burning Abyss deck as it is a Phantomite. Most of the lists that you see topping today are just Phantomite decks with a very small Burning Abyss engine, but I still like to play Burning Abyss cards very much. It's my favorite deck. It just happens that right now this is its best home, or one of its best homes. Um, so, the other thing is that the way that this deck works is that it has a ton of monster interaction. Most of your negates will be monster negates. You have very little or next to none interactions with spells and traps. So sometimes, depending on the matchup, you can have better matchup. Like you're really good against combo decks, but sometimes against like backward decks or control decks, you tend to struggle a little bit more. But that's why the Burning Abyss cards are so good because they help you play against backward because of how much recursion the deck has. Uh, the other thing is that I'll be going through my main deck, extra deck, and side deck. However, this is mostly a template. Everybody likes to play their own quirky techs and use my list as a template to what you like to play. Also, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe because that helps out a ton and helps me keep motivated to put more videos. I have tons of decks that I want to show. Let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into the main deck. Starting off with the best starter in the deck, we have triple copies of Torghite. So, these are Italian, by the way, I'm just saying. Anyway, so Torghite is the best normal summon in the deck because it's a one card combo. If you open Torghite and the opponent has, let's say, no hand traps, you have full combo. Now, if you suspect that the opponent has a hand trap, you kind of have to know like when to normal summon the Torghite because sometimes your hand will allow you to um, play without needing to normal summon Torghite and end on virtually the same board. But sometimes if you normal summon Torghite and the opponent uses Imperm, most of the time your turn is done because you're just stuck with the Torghite, right? So even though it's a really, really good starter, you need to know when to use it. Now, for the Burning Abyss names, we start off with two copies of Seer. Even though it's a 3, I still like, most people play the 1. I like playing 2 because even though I'm playing Libic, I just like having the second one to help me grind. And like I said, even though this deck is really good on turn 3, like most of the time you can just kill your opponent on turn 3. However, sometimes I like to gain like the most value, or I like to keep cards in hand for discards and whatnot. So I feel like 2 graph is just pretty solid, but you could choose to just play 1 graph and it will work just as fine. But like I said, I like having BA names in my hand. And following that, we have double copies of Seer mixed rarities, by the way. I don't know why I do this to myself, but mixed rarities are just the way to go. Anyway, so double Seer for the same reason. You could easily just use the 1, but because this deck, it can grind, and, you know, I'm trying to keep my winning, like I'm trying to win as many matchups as possible, I like having the second one. Also helps you play against things like DD Crow if they banish your first Seer, because you can still enable your Seer Dante loop. Then for the 3 utility EBAs, we have Farfa, Libic, and Skarm. So the reason behind playing these 3 is that, you know, Farfa, it's your target when you end on Beatrice. You can send Farfa as a disruption. Libic helps you extend a little bit and works with some other cards in the deck like Engib Sabers. Because it can special summon level 3 fiends, and Skarm helps you get your Tour Guide search in the end phase. Now, even though I'm playing quite a big BA count, this is mostly because sometimes I want to end on Beatrice on top of my end board, and having a BA to discard in my hand is really, really good just to summon Beatrice, which is something that regular PK decks don't have, is the ability to end on Beatrice. And Beatrice is just really good. Like you gain tons of value by having Beatrice on the field. Not only is it an interruption, but next turn it can help you kickstart your combos. So that's pretty much it for the BAs. Now onto the Phantom Knights. The new best boy, we have triple copies of Torn Scales. So Torn Scales just is absolutely insane. This card is just really, really good. The main effects are that if you banish a PK for one of its effects, you can special summon the Torn Scales from your graveyard. And while it's on the field, this is not an on-summon effect, this is an ignition effect. You can discard a card and then send any Phantom Knight card from your deck to the graveyard. So you basically have access to any of your Phantom Knights at any point, assuming that you have the Torn Scales in your graveyard. The other really nice thing about Torn Scales is that it's a level 3, so you can send it to the graveyard with Cherubini. This card is not only an extender, but it's also a starter along with your target. So you essentially have six really good normal summons for your deck. Now, for the other PKs, you can't play Phantom Knights without triple copies of Boots. It's just, I think 3 boots is absolutely necessary. You go through 2 boots very easily just playing regularly, and having the third one really helps because sometimes you actually don't mind opening the boots because it's an extender and then it searches a Fog Blade or a rank up card, so it's just really, really good. Double copies of Cloak, and the 1 copy of Gloves, and finally the 1 copy of Spanish Greaves. So, some people like playing double gloves, some people don't play Spanish Greaves, some people like playing triple cloak. I try to keep these almost to a minimum because I'm trying to make space for other cards in my deck, but I go through them very quickly, and I usually try to use things like Levier to put them back into the graveyard to use next turn. All these cards offer like really insane utility, especially Spanish Greaves, because sometimes you just need to have a body that can summon like almost like an immediate body to put on the field, and Spanish Greaves fills that role, not only mostly from the hand, because if you special summon a Phantomite, you can special summon it, but also if it's in the graveyard, you can banish itself to special summon a Phantomite from your hand. So sometimes if you already use your normal summon, Spanish Greaves can be your like extender. It acts as like an extender. Gloves is foolish, and this can search any of your monsters. Most of the time, you're going to be searching your gloves if you already have the Torn Skill in the graveyard, and then that will trigger the Torn Skill. It comes back, then you have a PK on the field, you can special summon it with gloves. If you play Phantom Knights, you know how most of these interactions work, but I think this ratio is perfectly fine for the deck. Now, let's talk about the best extender in the deck, and that is Kagemusha Knight. Do not play any less than three Kagemusha Knight. This card is absolutely amazing. The thing that people don't understand about Kagemusha Knight is that it's a pseudo Phantom Knight. Even though it doesn't have a Phantom Knight name, it doesn't have an effect in the graveyard, it's a level 3 Dark Warrior that special summons itself onto the field and helps you pretty much do anything that you need it to. The main applications for Kagemusha Knight is to, if you open Target Kagemusha, that's the absolute insanity. Your opponent cannot hand trap your target because you can chain block it with Kagemusha. Also, some people are like, oh, 3 bricks, I want to play 2 because what if I open 2 Kagemushas in your hand? Well, that's fine. If your hand is like 3 hand traps and 2 Kagemushas, you can still end on some kind of end board because Kagemusha can be normal summon. So you can normal summon 1 Kagemusha and special summon the other one. There's just no downside to running 3 copies of this card, like at all. This card is just absolutely amazing, and you should play as a 3 of. For the other extenders in the deck, we have the 1 copy of Jackalope, Snack, Sabers, Wielder, and Tracker. So let me put these nice and spread out so you can all see them. So these are your other extenders in the deck. They all are just really, really good one-ofs. Do I wish that I could play more copies of Tracker or Wield or Weed Dealer, or maybe even Sabers? Sabers, not really. I think this is a perfectly one-of. You can only play 1 of each danger. But Tracker, Wielder, I just see them most of the time as level 3 bodies. I don't really care about their effects. Like, they have an effect, but most of the time you just special summon if you have a level 3. The dangers are just really good in the deck as well because they're level 3 darks, but also they can sometimes help you draw a card. And if you have Jackalope and they discard the Jackalope, then you can trigger out the Snack, and if they hit the Snack off the danger effects, the Snack just summons itself. So there is just no downside to running dangers. Sometimes your hand is not like the best, and you have to sort of set some cards to help you get the right outcome, but it's pretty easy to do. For defensive cards, and by defensive cards I mean hand traps, we are playing triple copies of Ash Blossom. This is just the best hand trap to cover as many matchups as possible. You will face rogue decks, and rogue decks just absolutely cry to Ash Blossom. It hits it covers certain areas that the deck can't, like searching or special summoning. So Ash Blossom is just really, really good. It also helps you play around Gamma. Gamma is just really, really nasty against this deck, but if you have the Ash, sometimes it's worth giving up the Ash if they try to Gamma your Cherubini or your Bardiche. So it can even be a defensive card, which is really, really crazy to think about. For spells, we play 4 spells. These are just the power 4, and they're just pretty good spells. This searches all of your PKs. This sends any card that you need to the graveyard at any point. This helps you play through hand traps, and this helps you kill the opponent. There's not much else to say about them. They're just good cards, and you want to see them in your hand. For trap cards, starting off with the 3 copies of Pogblade. Pogblade is good. It's an extender, and it's also free Fiendish Chain. And then we have 1 copy of Shade Brigandine and 1 copy of Wings. Wings I like to send to the graveyard with the effect of Torn Scales or Ragged Gloves. And Shade Brigandine is kind of tricky to use, but it helps you make some cards kind of easy. It makes you make some end bars a little bit easier. For example, you can make Evilswarm Nightmare with it, and if you have Spanish Greaves can become a level 4, so you can use those two to make rank 4s. It's a body that you can use for link summoning. It's the main thing that it offers the deck is it's a searchable extender. As long as you don't have any trap cards in your graveyard, you just set it, flip it, summon it. And that's pretty much it for the traps. Now, onto the extra deck. Starting off with the extra deck, 1 copy of Beatrice. You basically just can make Beatrice in this deck, and it's just really good. Then for your rank up targets, you have Arc Rebellion and Dark Requiem. This is the card that you want to make when you go first. This is the card that you want to make when you go second. This kills the opponent. This is 3 negates. And it also enables a really cool interaction, which when you negate something with its effect, you can special summon Xyz in your graveyard. If you have things like Levier or Breaksword in your graveyard, you can special summon them. And then if you have Breaksword in your graveyard, you can special summon it to use on the Bardiche point, so then you can pop a card on the field. If the opponent sets something and they're about to, you know, if they make a mistake and just set something, right, you can pop it with Bardiche, which is really, really nice. Also helps you break boards. Then for the other rank 4s in the deck, we have Raider's Knight and Dark Rebellion, along with Evilswarm Nightmare. This helps you go into Arc Rebellion without needing to use the rank up card. This you need to use it if you want to go into Dark Requiem to enable Dark Requiem's negate effects. And Evilswarm Nightmare is actually really, really nasty against some decks because it's double Book of Eclipse. And think of it like if Raigeki, you know those boards where, like, for example, Prankids, right? Prankids ends on double Raigeki, right? So that basically deals with an opponent's full board. If the opponent needs 2 monsters on the field to go into, say, for example, a Needle Fiber, you can make Evilswarm Nightmare, and then they summon 2 things. You put them face down. They basically pass, and it's just really, really good. For rank 3s, double copies of Breaksword, you definitely need to play 2, at least 2, because you will use 1 for combo, and a lot of the times you will use 1 for its actual intended purpose, which is to pop a card on the field, and then summon 2 things from the graveyard. And also while it's in the graveyard, and you have, say, for example, a trap card or Dark Requiem, you can bring it back and then trigger a multitude of effects. And it's also a nice speeder because it's 2000 attack, so helps you close our games. And finally, for the 2 rank 3s, the last 2 rank 3s that we play 1 Dante and 1 Levier. So Levier helps you extend as well as put resources that you need from the banished zone into your graveyard, and Dante is Dante you need it to go into Beatrice. Sometimes if you're feeling yourself, you can mill 3 and maybe you'll mill the nuts like, I don't know, a Skarm and a Torn Scale. That's pretty good. But overall, you know, Dante's Dante. You can't really play Burning Abyss without Dante, right? It's actually a war crime. You should go to jail if you ever do that. For the links, 1 Cherubini because you need it for a combo and it's just really, really good. Another thing about Cherubini, when you're using Cherubini, if you have the ability to set a card, sometimes it's just really nice to set a card, and then if the opponent has, say, for example, Gamma, or a card that, like, destroys the Cherubini while it's on the field, you can use Cherubini's effect to destroy a card on the field to protect itself. So beware on how you can protect your Cherubini when you're going second or you're playing around hand traps, because it can really, really help. 1 Breaksword. Sorry, not Breaksword. Rusty Bardiche. Super, super insane card. Really, really glad it's off the ban list. It does pretty much everything that the deck needs it to. It pops cards, it generates advantage, and it's even a nice beater. And it can come back from the graveyard with your trap cards. Just a very, very strong card. And then 1 Apollousa. You can make this a lot of the time. It's just you have to choose whether or not you want to. It's really, really good when you know the opponent plays a deck that has a lot of effects that activate in the hand or in the graveyard. You can use Apollousa to deal with those, and then you can save your Fog Blades to negate cards on the field. and also stops them from trying to crash into your Apollousa. And then finally, 1 IP, 1 Unicorn. These are just pretty good extra deck staples. You can even use IP to go into Apollousa, and then your Apollousa is protected. And Unicorn is another form of disruption that this deck doesn't really have, which is to spin a card back into your opponent's deck, and you can make it with IP Masquerena if you have any card that triggers in the graveyard, or if like let's say you have I don't know, a Graph with its effects negated, right? You can use IP and Graph, go into Unicorn, and then Graph can summon Farfa, and you spin a card with Unicorn, and if Farfa dies, and that banishes a card until the end phase. So you can see how you can use your Burning Abyss effects to interact with your opponent's board in clever ways. Now, let's wrap this up with the side deck. Is that triple copies of Book of Moon? Yes, it is. Why? I don't know. I like Book of Moon. It's pretty good going first. It's pretty good going second. Really, if you have like Imperm or any, this I wouldn't say this is like a budget deck, at least my version, but if you have better cards, you could probably replace Book of Moon with it. For example, Droll and Lockbird. I just don't have Drolls or Nibiru's, but if you have those cards, you could probably replace Nibiru with them and do much better, but I still like Book of Moon. It's also a semi-trap card when you're going first. Double copies of Dark Ruler. This helps me break boards. Should I be playing 3? Yeah, probably. I can't find my third. For other cards that we play the big nasty hand trap of the format, which is Gamma and the One Driver. So this is just really good, especially when you're going second. You can slide this in, and it negates and destroys a monster effect, which is absolutely amazing because sometimes, your opponent can play through things if they need the body on field, but this gets rid of that body on the field. So it's just a really, really, really strong hand trap. But the only downside is that you can't control any monsters on the field to use this effect. But if you're going second, you have an empty board anyway, right? So Gamma, very good. Then we have triple copies of Lancia. Lancia is really good against, I don't know, dinosaurs, Eldritch, anything that banishes Thunder Dragons even. It covers a decent amount of ground, so why not play it, right? And then finally, we do not like back row except when we play the back row. Double copies of Twin Twister and 1 red reboot. I could probably squeeze a Harpy's Feather Duster into my side deck. I just don't have it, but if you have it, feel free to play it. So that's pretty much it for my Burning Abyss PK Fire deck profile. Thanks for watching. Shoutouts to my friends for hooking me up with the sick swag, like my Italian tour guides, my mat, my field center. You know who you are, and I'll see you guys in the next one.